Vincent Gray knew estates. He did not, as a rule, know jewels. Yet the late Lydia Amberton's last will and testament had bound the two together like clasped hands, and that was why he found himself stepping into the chandelier-lit galley of Amber Hall on the first Saturday in November, 3 hours before the bidding began, feeling vaguely as though he had wandered onto the set of some lavish period drama. The hall could have served as a textbook illustration of opulence. High-backed Louis XV chairs flanked the aisle. Velvet ropes the colour of old Cabernet insulated 4 towering glass cabinets. Within them glittered the contents of Amberton family vaults, seed-pearled brooches, tiaras spangled with rose-cut diamonds, cigarette cases in Art Deco onyx. Chester Pike, the appraiser Lydia had trusted for 3 decades, was making his final rounds, white-gloved hands fluttering like anxious doves. Each piece received a glance through his loupe, a murmured value, and finally a handwritten note pinned beside it. To Vincent's mild relief, the guest list was smaller than the gossip columns suggested it would be. Society heiress Arabella Amberton, Lydia's only living blood relative, hovered near the champagne bar in a silver flapper gown, nursing impatience and a half-drunk coupe. Nigel Fry, the auctioneer, performed soft vocal warm-ups, humming notes that made the crystal sing. Sophia Devereux, a Parisian collector famed for paying obscene multiples over estimate, paced the aisle with the hungry zeal of a falconer scenting prey. Behind them lounged Marco Price, American magnate of a sprawling jewelry chain, who wore his wealth like a medal and his boredom like a scarf. Vincent threaded through them with paperwork tucked under one arm, reminding himself that his duty was simple: represent the estate, ensure payment, settle the taxes. Any theatrics beyond that were someone else's business. Still, something felt off. It began with Chester's eyes. The man's usual serenity had been replaced by a visible tremor of nerves. Twice Vincent caught him wiping perspiration off his collar, despite the crisp autumn chill seeping through the mullioned windows. During a pause at Cabinet 3, Chester beckoned. "Mr. Gray, might I—" His voice trailed as someone jostled past. He motioned again, this time more insistently. "A private word." They stepped behind one of the thick damask curtains. "I'm expecting questions," Chester said, voice pitched low. "About Lot 17, the Firebird necklace. When they come, refer them to my notes and say nothing more." "I'm the lawyer, Mr. Pike, not your shield," Vincent replied. "If something's amiss, it's best corrected before the gavel falls." Chester's hand went protectively to his breast pocket. "Nothing is amiss," he said quickly. Too quickly. Before Vincent could probe, the doors swung inward. The public, small yet wealthy, filtered in amid a perfume of musk, engine grease, and old money. Vincent found his seat beside Arabella. "You've noticed," she whispered. "Noticed what?" "The tremor in poor Chester's hands. And see how Marco Price is circling that cabinet like a shark. The Firebird is a legend. People do desperate things for legends." Vincent studied Price. The American tapped at his phone, lips curled in a smirk, then looked up to catch Chester's eye. Price raised 2 fingers in a gesture Vincent failed to interpret. Chester responded with a near-invisible shake of the head, after which Price turned away, expression hardening. Nigel Fry ascended the podium, his mahogany gavel gleaming. Applause sprinkled the room. Fry's opening remarks celebrated Lydia's life lived in diamonds and extolled Chester's unimpeachable expertise. They also referenced the Firebird necklace, rumoured to rival the Florentine diamond in historical significance. Vincent could almost see Chester's spine compress. Lots 1 through 8 zipped by in a flurry of paddles. Vincent, who had no bid card, kept score from the margin, jotting hammer prices to reconcile later with tax records. All was routine until lot 15, a sapphire parure, when Sophia Devereux and Marco Price locked antlers. The bidding leapt threefold in under a minute. When Price finally capitulated with an exaggerated sigh, he cast another lingering look at Chester. Twice more during lots 16 and 17, Chester subtly signalled Nigel to prolong the patter, stalling, Vincent realised, as though dreading what came next. Finally, Fry's gavel rapped. Lot 17, the Firebird necklace. Every head pivoted toward Cabinet 3. The necklace sat on a velvet bust, its yellow-orange opals encircled by sunburst plumes of diamond baguettes. Even from 20 feet away, Vincent felt heat in its glow. Nigel cleared his throat. "Opening at 120,000? 200, Sophia called. 250, Price countered without glancing up. 300, Arabella ventured, surprising Vincent as well as herself. Her cheeks flushed at the audacity. Price's grin widened. 500,000? The room gasped. Sophia studied Price, then raised. 600. Chester's hand hovered above the glass latch, ready to display the piece up close, but he paused, eyes flicking to Nigel with naked appeal. Nigel misread or ignored the plea. "We have £600,000 sterling, £1,000,000, Marco Price thundered. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Vincent sensed a collective suspicion that the American was grandstanding. But there was something predatory in Price's voice that said otherwise. "May I inspect the necklace?" Price asked. At last, Chester unlatched the cabinet door. He lifted the necklace carefully, turned, and his heel snagged the carpet. A gasp rippled through the audience as he steadied himself against the glass wall of the cabinet. Nigel resumed. "Mr. Price requests inspection." "Very well." As Chester took one step forward, a metallic creak sliced the air. The leftmost vertical brace of the cabinet buckled outward. Glass trembled. Vincent half rose, stomach bottoming. A second creak, louder. Then the entire structure leaned like a felled tree. Chester had time only to look up. The cabinet crashed down, shattering into daggered shards. Its wooden crown pinned Chester's torso, glass raining around him like stardust. Pandemonium. Sophia screamed. Arabella dropped her paddle. Nigel froze, mouth ajar. Price took a single, almost involuntary step back, hand clamped to his chest. Vincent vaulted the rope. "Call an ambulance." But by the time he knelt amid the glitter and blood, he knew no ambulance would matter. Chester Pike's eyes stared past the ceiling fresco into an infinity only he could see. A web of crimson threaded under him, bright and terrible. The Firebird necklace lay several inches beyond Chester's reach, miraculously intact. 2 hours later, Amber Hall had transformed from auction house into crime scene. A uniformed constable secured the entrance. Detectives paced the aisle, photographing the wreckage. Guests were ordered to remain for statements. Vincent sat in a side salon, coat draped over his lap, replaying the scene on loop. Funeral accidents were rare, but cabinet accidents? Rarer still. Detective Inspector Marianne Calder approached, reading from her notebook. "Mr. Gray, a state lawyer, correct?" "Yes." "According to several witnesses, you were the first at the victim's side." "I was." "Did he say anything?" "No." Vincent rubbed his temple. He died instantly." Calder tucked a loose curl behind her ear. "Cabinet appears tampered with. 2 of the 4 steel braces were loosened, one almost completely removed." Someone wanted it to fall. Vincent exhaled. And used Chester as the bullseye. Or used him as collateral damage to get at the necklace. Calder flipped pages. You know the players: Arabella Amberton, Sophia Devereux, Marco Price, Nigel Fry. Any reason one of them would sabotage a cabinet? Vincent hesitated. Lawyerly discretion battled moral obligation. Before the auction, Chester seemed rattled. He warned me there might be questions about the Firebird. He asked me to deflect them. Questions of authenticity? My guess. Vincent lowered his voice. If the Firebird was a forgery and Chester knew, exposure would ruin him. Calder scribbled. A motive for suicide? He frowned. Chester was agitated, not despairing. And why end his life by toppling a cabinet that could also destroy Lydia Amberton's legacy? No, someone else engineered this. Calder's pen hovered. Who benefits? Vincent's mind flashed through possibilities. Sophia Devereux has motive to eliminate rival bidders, yet sabotage risked ruining the necklace she coveted. Nigel Fry, share of buyer's premium, but his reputation would suffer. Arabella Amberton, inherited proceeds, a higher hammer price meant more money. Killing her own appraiser, illogical. Marco Price, aggressive bidder, potentially furious if the necklace were exposed as fake, especially after offering $1 million. Price. Vincent recalled the two-finger signal, the silent exchange. Marco Price spoke to Chester before the auction, Vincent said. Something passed between them. I can't decode it. Calder nodded. We'll talk to him. But after she left, Vincent's curiosity refused to relent. The will gave him wide authority over Lydia's assets. Calder had not forbidden him from examining the lots. He approached the cordoned display where the Firebird lay under evidence lighting. The detectives had bagged Chester's personal effects. Vincent requested permission to view them. Within minutes, he was handed a clear pouch of items: watch, spectacles, handkerchief, and a folded sheet of vintage stationery. Lydia Amberton's crest at the top. The letter, penned in Lydia's Roman slanted script, was dated 8 months earlier. Dearest Chester, I've uncovered the truth of the Firebird. Lydia paid heavily, but she feared scandal more. Keep my secret, and the world will remember her as legend, not liar. Burn this note after reading. L. Beneath the letter, an index card bore Chester's handwriting: Firebird, Stax Composite, Jessica's Opals, Zephyr Tiara Fragments. Value 20-30K tops. Must disclose. A forgery confirmed. But if Chester planned disclosure, Marco Price's £1 million bid made no sense, unless Price knew it was fake and intended to exploit that knowledge. Vincent returned to the salon where guests were sequestered. Price sat apart, tapping his foot, idly scrolling through his phone. Calder stood nearby, drafting forms. Vincent cleared his throat. Detective, may I speak to Mr. Price with you present? I think we can accelerate matters. Calder arched an eyebrow but gestured consent. Price looked up, forced a grin. Counselor, grim day. Vincent remained standing. You signalled Mr. Pike before the auction. 2 fingers. Price shrugged. I asked him to confirm lot authenticity. Standard practice. Vincent produced the index card. Chester's private valuation. He concluded the Firebird was worth 1/20th of its estimate. Yet you bid $1 million. Price's grin faded. Where did you get that? Answer the question. Bidding tactics, Price said. I suspected he forged it. I wanted to scare him into confessing, drive the lot to a pause, force authentication later. Calder interjected. By throwing money at it? Price spread his hands. Public humiliation sometimes loosens tongues. Vincent leaned closer. Or you wanted the necklace pulled so investors in your chain wouldn't witness you purchasing a counterfeit. But sabotage? That requires proximity and tools. Have you any? Calder searched Price's pockets. From the interior jacket came a compact toolkit, jeweler's screwdriver set, wrench, pliers, items small enough to loosen steel braces. Price's pulse throbbed visibly in his neck. "Those are for gemstone inspections," he protested. "I didn't touch the cabinet." "Where were you during the pre-auction preview?" Calder asked. "Walking the floor, same as everyone." Vincent remembered seeing Price duck behind cabinet 2 at one point, phone pressed to his ear, back turned. Time enough to tamper. But evidence, while suspicious, remained circumstantial. Vincent needed something irrefutable. Arabella, eyes still red-rimmed, approached. "They say it might have been murder. Chester adored me like a niece. Who would—" Vincent, suddenly struck, asked, "Did Chester photograph the pieces yesterday?" "Yes, on his tablet. He said he needed backups." "Where's the tablet now?" "In his valet case upstairs." If Chester had documented the Firebird forgery, the images might include telltale flaws. More importantly, metadata could reveal when the cabinet's braces were loosened, perhaps captured in a reflection. Calder dispatched a constable to retrieve the tablet. When it arrived, Vincent scrolled the gallery. The final image, time-stamped 12:03 p.m., showed Chester crouching before cabinet 3, adjusting the necklace. The cabinet's left brace was already loosened, visible by the distinct sheen where the screw should have sat flush. A reflection on the cabinet glass captured a blurred but identifiable shape. Marco Price, wielding a screwdriver. Vincent handed the tablet to Calder. Time to read him his rights. Marco Price was arrested for the murder of Chester Pike via negligent homicide. His intent had been destruction of property and intimidation, but not, he claimed, murder. The Crown would decide how far malice travelled. He had loosened the cabinet braces after guessing Chester meant to expose the Firebird as fake. With the cabinet's collapse, the auction would halt, scandal would ensue, and Price could posture as whistleblower while avoiding the cost of due diligence. Price insisted he never imagined the frail appraiser would be crushed. The weeks that followed were a blur of inquests. Vincent testified, Arabella grieved, and Lydia's estate reeled. The Firebird necklace, now officially catalogued as a composite imitation, lost its luster. Even so, Arabella elected to exhibit it at the City Museum beside a plaque that detailed the cautionary tale of greed. On a grey afternoon after the hearing, Vincent returned to Amber Hall to oversee final inventory. The chandeliers were dark, the chairs stacked, the carpet rolled, an opulent theatre gone hush. He paused at the spot where Chester had fallen. Sunlight filtered through diamond-shaped lead panes, scattering mild rainbows across the vacant floor. What struck Vincent then was not the emptiness but the echo of possibility. How delicate the line between preservation and exploitation, between legacy and liability. Lawyers, he thought, appraise intentions with no less scrutiny than a gemologist appraises stones. You held them to the light, searched for inclusions, tested their hardness. And sometimes, like tonight, the flaws were fatal.